Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, and this is a video that nearly didn't get made. Won't be a long one today. This is some footage that I recorded actually before going to Mansfield and Craig's Hut, so the last sort of trip video that was published. So I've been down in Marysville for a job and camped the night in the Marysville State Forest. So initially went to one of the campsites there, thought, oh yeah, State Forest, Marysville, Friday night, it's not going to be that busy. Yeah, I couldn't have been more wrong. It was packed, barely standing room only. So fortunately managed to find a little spot. This was actually my first night out camping in the new swag, and went pretty well. I didn't take a lot of footage, but I'll drop something in. Got a little bit of condensation, but overall was really happy with it. And then my plan was to explore the Cathedral Ranges. So again, this was on the tail end of a work trip, so I'd been busy getting all my work stuff ready. I hadn't actually researched, other than making sure that the roads were open, because again, this was last year, after all that rain that we had, where there'd been massive road closures throughout Victoria. So I'd made sure that I could get through to Marysville, but other than that, I hadn't researched Cathedral Ranges or anything else to see what was open or shut or whatever. As I was to find out, significant parts of the Cathedral Ranges, as in most of it, is shut, and I think it's still shut now. Check on the Parks Vic website before going there like I did. So my first plan was, I got up in the morning after camping just south of Marysville in the State Forest and headed down Lady Talbot Drive. The plan was to head down there towards a couple of waterfalls that are down that way and check them out. I thought it would be sort of the opportune time to go and check those falls out. But that was not to be. So there's Keppel Falls down there, and I believe another one as well before you actually head around up onto the top of Mount Margaret and the Cathedral Ranges proper. So headed down there and didn't get too far before I found out that it was blocked off, closed to access, so due to track and or road damage and probably lots of trees down. Then on the way back, headed down a little shortcut track from Lady Talbot Drive that looked like it cut through to the Marysville main road, but probably the Marysville Maroondah Road, but there was a tree down on that and I didn't particularly feel like tackling it with my chainsaw. So then jumped back on the bitumen and headed down and took the Mount Margaret Road to see if that would get me up. And again, didn't get too far along there before finding that it was closed. Did manage to take one track back, which is pretty much the only track that I did get to drive in this area, which was the Dennehy track. It was a little slippery, but other than that, nothing to worry about. And then I had one last ditch sort of effort and took the Cerberus Road to try and see if I could go up to Mount Sugarloaf, and once again that was shut. And so after that I gave up and headed to Mansfield and decided to go up to Craig's Hut. And you guys have seen that trip video. So look, there's not heaps to see in this video, but it's a little bit of a taste of the area around Marysville, and definitely an area that I would like to go back to and spend a bit more time in. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and let's get into it. Okay, so first night in the RS1,
A few birds around here. We're camping in the Marysville State Forest. Have to say, pretty happy, really comfortable. So that was good. Bit like the rooftop tents though. There was a bit of rain around last night, so I didn't open up the vents, and I clearly should have. Fair bit of condensation inside this morning. Not wet on the outside because it's mostly under the vehicle awning that I set it up. But yeah, a fair bit of condensation inside. But yeah, look, the mattress and the stretcher together, even though it's only a 35mm foam mattress, that was more than enough. So have some breakfast and we'll get going. Probably doesn't come up, but just trying to show you there some of the condensation.
So as I mentioned in the intro, guys, headed out Lady Talbot Drive, found that was blocked off and closed, as I've literally just actually checked today, which is the 26th of January 2023. So yes, I am recording this on the Australia Day public holiday because that's when I get time to do stuff. Cathedral Ranges are still closed by Parks Victoria as at today. So obviously a lot of damage up in there, so give it some time before you try and head up. Now look, as the text said on the screen, this is the Dickinson track, little side track just near Marysville. That's Dickinson track that connects from Lady Talbot Drive through to the Buxton Marysville Road. And I thought, I was itching to get off road, so I thought this could be a nice scenic little drive. And as you can see, plenty of water around, pretty easy track, right up until the point you get this half a forest sized tree. Maybe it's not that big, but it's pretty big. My little chainsaw was certainly going to take quite some time to cut through that, and given it was not imperative, opted for the easy way, turned around, went back through town, and headed out on the Buxton Marysville Road to seek an alternate route, because at this point, and actually you probably just saw there, it was pretty quick, but how much water is actually flowing in the rivers and creeks around here. But yeah, at this point I wasn't sure if the entire Cathedral Range was shut or whether it was just sections of it, and whether some of the roads would be open. So yeah, heading around to the Mount Margaret Road. So here you can see we're just turning off the road onto the Mount Margaret Road, and as the text says there, yes, coming out of Marysville, this should be a right-hand turn, but the navigator sort of missed that one, not having driven this way before. The Mount Margaret Road is a really good road, as you can see, easy two-wheel drive conditions, well-drained road, doesn't look like it gets terribly wet at any particular time. So obviously a main tourist road up into the Cathedral Range National Park. And given how far I was getting at this point, I was really starting to get pretty optimistic. I thought maybe this is it. This road might actually be open. On the right-hand side there, that Yanks Folly track. Not sure if that is seasonally closed. It looks kind of permanently shut to me, but not really sure. And just on the left there is the access to the Dennehy track. Coming up here, you can see the gates here have been opened, but there's clear signage on here saying the road's closed. So I just pulled up so I could actually read the sign to see what it said. It did clearly say that it was supposed to be shut. So perhaps I should have shut those, but I figured somebody might have gone through when they shouldn't have, and they would need to come back out, because I suspect they wouldn't get all that far. So I didn't close them, but certainly turned around and wasn't left with a terrible lot of options for finding a track to explore here. Checking the maps, I did find the Denny track, or Dennehy track, I'm not sure how you meant to say that. And that was just down below the main road here, and had the added benefit of connecting back to the Cerberus Road, which was an extension of the original Mount Margaret Road that I was on some time ago. So at the very least, I thought, well, I'll get a little bit of off-road driving in before having to unfortunately leave the area. And look, like so much of the area around Marysville, this area is very scenic, and I would have loved to have gotten up on top of the Cathedral Range. I've driven past and seen it in the distance several times, but never had the time or the opportunity to actually get up on top. And you can see here evidence of a few trees having been down. There's certainly some branches down here over the track. And you can certainly see the impact that the recent weather's had. I was pretty fortunate. Clearly somebody had come through not too long ago with a chainsaw and solved a lot of these problems for me. As usual, the trees seem to be cut just wide enough for a vehicle. Times like this, I'm glad I'm driving the Pajero and not something a bit bigger and wider. Small one down here, so looks like somebody's actually cut that and just lobbed it and left it sitting on the track, and probably just driven straight over it. Given how small it was and it wasn't going to take a whole lot to move it, I elected to just pull up and move it off the track. I've had a few times now where I've driven over stuff like that that's got a lot of little branches on it sticking up and managed to tear or dislodge a rear CV boot a couple of times. That ultimately leads to losing all the grease out of the CV and just a headache. So for the sake of a minute or two to get out of the car and just move some stuff off the track seemed like a sensible option to me. Doesn't take a lot, and the track's a lot clearer now, particularly with stuff like that. Yeah, somebody certainly had to give their chainsaw a bit of work here. As you can see, certainly the first part is not very difficult at all, and largely two-wheel drive. So, as it says on the screen there, the other portion of the track goes straight ahead. It does appear to be a dead end according to the topo maps. Looks like it leads down to maybe some sort of access to Gumberdick Falls. Not sure what kind of falls they are. I possibly should have checked them out on this trip, because there's actually a lot of water in all the creeks and streams. I guess I just wasn't certain that there was going to be access. So, and honestly, I hate driving down tracks and turning around and driving back out if I could avoid it. So, elected to keep going. Just pulled up for a stop here because it's the first part of the track that has looked to get any sort of gradient on it, and I'm actually still running my tyres at 40 psi here, and just wanted to check out how steep it was. It's probably not coming through particularly well on the camera, but this track's got a really clay base, and it was still damp relatively early in the morning. I can't remember what time this was exactly, but there's still a bit of dew. We'd had some rain the night before, and the sun really hadn't had a chance to get in here and dry this out. So running 40 psi on all terrains, I was a little bit wary of looking to skate, and this little section here, in fact I almost did skate down. So when I got to the bottom here on this flat spot before tackling the next section, I did pull up and air down. Better late than never, as they say. It's never too late to make a better decision than you might have made the first time. I was lulled into a false sense of security, like so many are, by the start of this track, thinking, oh, this is just going to be a two-wheel drive track all the way through. There's not going to be any steep sections. It'll probably just be a nice drive in the forest, and that'll be that. And yeah, we did get a nice wet clay hill to come down. I can imagine people making it quite interesting coming out after rains, trying to drive up these things. It was slippery enough as it was. I was certainly very light on the brakes and making sure that the vehicle wasn't building up too much momentum. Quite a dense forest through here, as you can see, lots of small trees. Still probably recovering from the huge Marysville bushfires of around '09. That significantly impacted the town and community. And again, you can see here the number of trees that have come down in this section. And yeah, you can see by the cut ends, some of them were definitely recent. Now, this stretch of water here, I don't think this is normally a river crossing at all. I think this is just one of those springs that's opened up and turned the track into a river where it normally isn't. You can see the water flowing down the track there and then off to the side and carrying on through the bush. I suspect that in normal times there's probably little to no water there. And you can see this section here, it was nice and firm today. Definite clay base and, you know, startings of some ruts there from when it's been a bit wetter and softer and people have come through here. A little bit of a campsite there on the right hand side. And coming through here, I was starting to think, oh, here we go, blocked off. But again, our friends with the chainsaws have been through here. Looked like they've done the bare minimum. I did think about getting out and clearing this, but it had been squashed pretty flat from vehicles coming through beforehand. So in this particular case, elected to run the gauntlet and just push on through. And apparently this isn't a four-wheel drive track at all, it's a road. There you can see no overtaking or passing, assuming that pertains to this little bridge here that's pretty well disguised by the amount of trees and branches that have just come down with the storm. So gives you some idea of the impact that this rain and these storms that happened late last year, 2022, have had on the areas where they've hit. And you can see why the Cathedral Range is probably shut, because so many tracks up there and so many areas, and they need to make it safe for all vehicles of all abilities to get up in there. So as I said, it's late January 2023. Checking the park's website today, Cathedral Range is still shut at this time, and they didn't have any information up as to when they expected that it might be open. No doubt they've got a huge job in front of them and only a certain number of resources to be able to do that job, so I'm sure they'll get it open as soon as they can. As it says there on the screen, we're now exiting onto Cerberus Road. And this was our last ditch attempt to try and find a route that was open, if there was one that was open, up onto the tops of the Cathedral Range. Little day use area next to the creek here on the right hand side. And again, this little creek was up and flowing quite well, probably more so than it normally would be. And if you're seeing what I'm seeing, those yellow signs sort of tell the story, don't they? Road closed. So this is actually a camping area here, and there were a few people camping here. So this was kind of where we called it quits, or I called it quits, and said, look, clearly the entire Cathedral Range is shut, which I now know that it is, and still is. Definitely an area I want to get back to. Turned around, followed the road back out, and got on the Marysville Buxton Road to head through to Mansfield and up to Craig's Hut. So look, short sharp video today, guys. Not a lot of real four-wheel driving, but hopefully a little bit of a highlight of an area close to Melbourne that when it's open again, you guys might want to get out there and check out as well. So thanks as always for watching. Like this video if you liked it, and see you in the next one.